That's right, the future is in Vulcan, Alberta. Well, thanks everyone for coming. It's wonderful to see such a great, enthusiastic crowd this morning. You're full of breakfast, and I'm not sure if there are any GMOs in that breakfast or not, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Pretty excited to have Dr. Don Huber here for a good discussion on glyphosate. Today I'm not going to be bombarding you with tidbits of information that you need to take to your farm. It's not going to be an agronomy approach. I'm going to talk about Farming Smarter and where we're heading as an organization. As you've heard already, that we've been going through a lot of change, and I think it's all good. So this is my first stab at a Prezi, so hopefully it works out, but we're going to do something quite visual, more of a slideshow. It's like I'm taking you on a tour of our last year and sort of some insights on where we're headed. So this is the Starship Enterprise for those of you that don't know Star Trek. And you can see, since there's a tree growing here, this is an actual statue, which I believe is in Vulcan, Alberta. The front port of the vessel here is that's where all the people are. That's where the main bridge are. So I'm going to talk about the people, the partners, and the capacity within the organization. The impulse engine right here, or engineering, this is where I'm going to talk about our growing knowledge program. This is that incremental information that you get throughout all of our events, through our extension activities, and it's that incremental positive change, that slow, solid engine that keeps the industry moving forward. And this is sort of the heart of the organization, despite the fact that we have these crazy, what are they called, warp nacelles up here. These are the warp engines that really take us off. And this is where we have our Growing New Ideas program. This is the innovation funnel, or the innovation amplifier that we attempt to do, because we know that as a grassroots organization, a lot of the innovation comes at the farm level, and it's our job to funnel those needs and assessments to determine whether they're viable in a practical setting, and then really move the industry forward. At the same time, this type of innovation is what really changes direction of this spaceship. It takes us from going slow to another part of the galaxy. And a lot of the times, those game changers are pretty exciting for the industry, but they're pretty rare too. So we've got two main components that we focused on there. This will be our small plot research and our field scale practical research. So we'll start in with the people and partners. First and foremost is the staff of Farming Smarter. And we've got a fat Captain Kirk there. I wasn't talking about me. What are you laughing? It's talking about Jamie. No, I'm just kidding. We've got a fantastic staff, and I can't say enough about them. And that's what's really been the difference in making this organization catapult forward. And a lot of the people are interested in returning. So we've got really brilliant summer staff that are interested in coming back. And this fella here, our Sulu here, he's probably going to be the next big thing. Like, this guy got $100,000 in scholarships. We'll probably never see him again. But anyways, it's exciting to be able to attract and retain, a young and passionate group of individuals. In fact, you'll find out later that we're actually hiring. So kudos to Jamie especially, and Mike. He's our Mr. Spock there, that runs around like a mad scientist doing all of our field work. So we talked about sponsors, so I threw out this mind-boggling, twisted array of logos just as a visual representation of the amount of support that we're getting, and it really means a lot to build this organization moving forward. And I know Kent said that we've gone through a big change. Well, LinkedIn told me that it's 6 years now that I've been with the organization, and honestly, when we first started, I was the only full-time staff. So we've gone from a budget of about $150,000 to $1.3 million in 6 years, and that's a testament to the industry in general, the need for the work that we're doing, and the void that we're filling, and we wouldn't be possible without all of this new added support, especially on the commission side of things, because our government support, although it's still a key foundation within the organization through the Ag Opportunity Fund, has not increased in 12 years. So we're working hard. We kind of stepped up to the plate and accepted the challenges in providing good quality information, research, and extension, and we'd like to make sure that they maintain their partnership and help us continue to grow. So of particular importance, the Alberta Canola Producers Commission has really and truly become a partner and an owner in this organization as a delivery mechanism. This is the money that comes from the checkoffs and the crops that you guys produce, and they're very much wanting to show value in that checkoff, and by giving us investing us on fully gives us the confidence that we're the muscle behind that checkoff dollar. So in a sense, all the producers here are supporting this organization. And we had a wonderful day with them this year where we invited the entire board and staff on a tour that was a private tour, and we had a pig roast and got the two boards together and said, you know, look what we're doing and come and see what we're doing. And we heard comments like, wow, this is as good as Lacombe Research Centre, and we're at par with Ag Canada and other prestiged organizations. So that was great, and we're actually hoping, I see Kent's here, we'd love to have a joint board meeting with the Wheat Commission this year, and maybe we'll roast something other than a pig, I don't know. So there's their logo. That's been another really interesting addition to the ag industry as a producer-supported organization. The Alberta Wheat Commission is now up and running in full swing, and that's again grassroots producer support and innovation. So we're really excited about their impact and further partnerships moving forward. And I mentioned Alberta Agriculture as well. Another partnership that we're very proud of is one with the 4-H group, and we've got a number of representatives from 4-H. And what actually stemmed this was that they roped me into doing speaker judging for their 4-H group, and I was astounded at the level of passion and ability in delivering a message from these young people. And I thought, my goodness, I'm paying people to come speak at conferences, and you guys are way better. So we invited them to join our conference, and after sort of lunch and sort of lulls in the day, we had these young 4-H speakers come up, and it's an injection of youth and passion into an organization and an industry that's so needed. And as part of that, we have put on fundraisers at our conferences each year, and over the past 3 years, we're over, I think, $25,000 that has been raised for the Southern 4-H group. So maybe if these guys wouldn't mind stand up, we can give a round of applause for our 4-H group. So we are talking about the future, and I think that a partnership with youth and agriculture is so important, and we want to continue that relationship. At the front, you'll see that we've got a new one-pager, kind of quick and dirty, Farming Smarter at a glance. Even though we have grown a lot, there's still a lot of people that don't know about Farming Smarter, and as members, we'd love it if you guys could pass that information on to your neighbors. So you can use this as a tool to pass to them that kind of tells people what it is we're about. And that's what's so great about the name Farming Smarter and the brand that we're building with it, is that it says a lot. It's a lot easier to tell people what Farming Smarter is than it used to be telling people that I worked for Sarah, Southern Applied Research. I actually had somebody thought that I worked for a lady named Sarah for 3 years before she realized it was the organization that we worked for. So we've got a breakdown of some statistics within the organization, the staff, the budget, the membership. We're now up to almost 1,700 people on our mailing list, and that's very exciting. We conducted 68 trials, 3,000 agronomy trials, and we had 1,400 people through our extension events last year. Now, I throw this up there not to brag, but I have to do this as part of our government funding, and it's talking about impact. And the impact that an organization like this has is tremendous, and it's not something that we take credit for wholly, because what we're doing is building the stage and creating the environment where all of the other researchers and great agronomists and extension and even each other can help pass information. So we've actually gone through and, of course, subjectively come up with ways of, we came up with a term called an acre impression. It's sort of like they do in social media when you're talking about impressions, how it goes forward. And we had 2.3 billion acres, so that's how many acres we impacted through extension events, and we're actually claiming a close to a 400 to 1 return on investment, which sounds absurd, but like Dale Khalil said last year, even if I'm off by a factor of 10, the impact is tremendous. This is our budget for 2014 and a breakdown, because often people will ask, who is it that supports Farming Smarter? This year we have an operating budget of 1.3 million, which is a little bit higher than normal due to a large capital plan that we have. We're trying to beef up our capacity to be able to meet the demand of the work that's put upon us. But 26% producer support, which means a lot. That means that farmers are stepping up to the plate, supporting the organization, and we're surpassed the provincial support, which is only at 18%. So it'll be my challenge to them that they at least match us 50-50 on the work that we're doing going forward. Industry's at 16%, and that's industry contracts, sponsorship for events and such. Our sales is at 10%, which is revenue from events and crops. Federal is 9% because they're our largest customer right now for contract research. Our municipal support is 2%, and a majority of that comes from the Cypress County with our site in Medicine Hat. So I'm going to just briefly talk a little bit about this capital budget, which is rather large. So this is the majority of our purchases this year, and we haven't ordered a plot combine, which we're pretty excited about, because here we are trying to do world-class research with a 1980s combine named Helga, and we're going to run her off the coulees this year. So if anybody's got some coulee land, Morton's going to come tape it. But these little combines cost as much as the big ones, and just like you guys, we decided to buy a combine the year the prices hit the tank again. We're also purchasing a new tractor for our precision ag work that we're doing. They mentioned the purchase of the Veris and such. We have a lease on some land right across from our site. This is the college building up here, and now we've got a quarter section that's leased on a 3-year lease from NASA Holdings, and now you can see we're starting to do some irrigated work along the pivot. And of course, this little squiggly line, that's all of the canola that was eaten by gophers this year. So it's great to get new land, but it always takes a while to get new land into shape, and we're hoping that we can make this more of a long-term lease. That poor Toby, he was out there killing gophers. He's probably out there right now killing gophers, to be honest with you. But it greatly expanded our access to land for doing research. We need quite a bit of land because we have to set up proper rotations so that we're coming on to clean land each year with our plots. I mentioned that we're expanding. We have a job posting right now. You can go to our website, farmingsmarter.com or agcareers.com, and we're looking for a really great person to join the team as a research agronomist, anything from a technician level to possibly even a scientist level. So we are trying to build the capacity. We're looking at even some of these retiring scientists to come in on contract. I know that Dr. Bob Blackshaw even expressed some interest in joining the group in as short a time as 1.5 years. So we want to make sure that we're set and able to receive these highly qualified individuals to help continue the good work that they've done in their careers. So we're going to move over to the innovation side, the Growing New Ideas program. And there's really 2 components to what we do. It's a small plot research and the field scale research. Some of the highlight projects that we worked on in 2013 were an inter-row seeding trial, which wasn't really that much of a highlight since it was completely hailed out. We're going to continue that next year, and that'll be the 3rd year of our trial on that one on canola. We collaborate with Scott Mears' group on the pest monitoring. The Pulse Regional Variety Trials, that's the stuff that goes in the seed guide. We worked on that. Some of the most interesting ones were the night spraying herbicide and fungicide trials. And if you're looking for information on these, I've got presentations on the night spraying and the Precision Ag project on our website from our conference. If you missed it, you can go watch the video and see the presentation there. We're working with AITF and BEST on their product trials. We were working on a large winter wheat agronomy trial with Brian Barris's group in Ag Canada. Just signed about to sign a big partnership with Agrizoma in helping develop Brassica carinata. They're particularly interested in our Medicine Hat site, so that's pretty exciting. We worked on the Ultimate Canola Challenge through our field school, and that's looking at all of the alternative products that are out there for crops, and that will continue again next year. And we're working with Randy Kuchner, U of S, and Mike Harding on a leaf spot disease. This is the workhorse of our research trials. It's probably I think one of the best research plot seeders in Canada, and a lot of that's thanks to the Ag Tech Center that's been able to customize and build it to our specifications. We can basically do everything that you can imagine with this seeder, and we just hooked it up for liquid as well. And Jamie doesn't look too happy working in the cold, but that's part of our facility constraints, setting up a trial for seed treatments with Becker Underwood. We do some pretty strange things in research. This year we had a winter wheat trial, part of that agronomy program, where we had to get some straw from one field and go spread it on another field so that we can look at straw removal as part of a project. So although it looks glamorous, research can be pretty tedious and manual and a lot of hard work. And we work right till the sun sets too, so just a pretty picture there. This year we're continually adapting how we do the research, and this was another idea that we threw at the Ag Tech Center. It's great to have the engineers there. They devised us a self-propelled bicycle sprayer, so it uses an electric motor that helps run it so that we can control the speed and not wear ourselves out the fields. And actually it's back at the shop getting some modifications, but basically that's it, how we can spray our plots evenly on the maintenance side of things. And then it's easy enough to throw up in a pickup truck and take off to our other sites. These are the folks that are busy working on our night spraying project. I mentioned earlier that it's a lot of work, so they're out on their hands and knees taking biomass samples, picking out the crop from the weeds so that we can get some good information on whether the timing makes a difference. And at Farming Smarter, safety is the utmost important. They were just playing. It wasn't real. But honestly, great group. Even though that they're on their hands and knees taking biomass, they're having fun and they're excited about the contribution that they're making to the organization and to agriculture in southern Alberta. We had to hire a fellow that just loves playing with remote controls, and these are some pictures taken with an octocopter of our field site, and I'll show you a picture of that shortly. And I'm thinking it actually might be a pretty good tool for us in plot research anyways, to be able to get an overhead shot, so now we can go back if we're looking through the data and there's a plot that just isn't making sense. We can zoom in and see, well, maybe that one was eaten by the gophers on the NASA field, or not. We're delving into other types of crops that we haven't done before. This is the first year we did a corn trial, and talking to the industry folks, you know, the DuPonts and Pioneers and DeKalbs, they're really interested in expanding corn and soybean acres in Western Canada, so we're likely going to have to step it up to be able to do some research for them. Our winter wheat trials with Brian. And there's old Helga, and I always take the opportunity to throw up a picture of me working, just to prove it, because yeah, I'm not in the field as much as I used to be. So new for 2014 on the research, and this is still on the maybe side, depending on funding approvals. Canola seed size, date, and depth, growth regulators in canola, seed primers. There's a new fall rye breeder out of Ag Canada, and we're going to be working with him on a fall rye agronomy program. We've got a grazing winter cereals project with a producer out of Medicine Hat. That's very cool. He grows winter wheat and winter triticale after a silage crop, so seeds it in early August, then grazes, it grows up about this tall, about 1.5 feet tall or so. He grazes it all winter long, knifes in some fertilizer in the spring, and then grows a silage crop out of it again. So we're looking at fall rye, triticale, winter wheat blends, both a grain variety and a forage variety, and then insecticide seed treatments to enhance survivorship. We're really excited about the possibility of developing a hemp agronomy program, and after me you'll get to hear from Dr. Jan Salaski here from Alberta Innovates and Technology Futures, and we think the stars are aligning now. We just heard that there's 20,000 new acres of hemp contracted in southern Alberta from a company out of Manitoba. So we're kind of scrambling, putting together an agronomy program, putting in our licenses, and we're hoping for 2014 we'll start some work in that area. In addition to that, there's a possibility that we may be looking at a hail recovery research project. So the idea there is, after a hail, can you help your crop along with fungicides, all these other products and nutrients and such. So in our field scale research, we're continuing our main projects, looking at the electroconductivity sensors in particular, and developing the whole variable rate industry. And that's been a very challenging project, but also eye-opening, and we're hoping to sort through all those layers of information and figure out which is the best approach, and just give a little bit of a perspective to that industry. I mentioned earlier that we played around a little bit with the drone imagery, and we're starting a new project with an Ag Canada researcher out of Brandon, Manitoba, and the premise behind that is looking at historical yield maps for variable rate application in canola in particular. We'll see if this works. So this is our MLA, Bridget Pasteur, who came to give us a check essentially for 50% of these electroconductivity sensors that we bought. Originally, when we were doing the project, we were going to try to work with consultants that already own this type of equipment. That's the Varus machine that has an electroconductivity, organic matter, and a pH sensor. We found that given the time constraints and the budget constraints in working with the contracts, it would be better that if we had this equipment ourselves, it would give us the flexibility not only to work in southern Alberta, but to be able to do this type of mapping across the province. So right there, Toby's got the computer hooked up to the tractor. He's pulling the Varus and the EM38 directly behind that with an RTK system where we can get georeference data. And we're basically evaluating the utility of these instruments as a tool for variable rate applications. And that's just a shot of one of our cooperators on the field scale project. What we're doing within that project is kind of almost a reverse engineering approach to precision agriculture. We're doing replicated fertility and seeding rate trials across an entire quarter section. So it looks complicated there, but it's easy just to program that into the seeder, and then they're seeding the research trial. And at the same time, we're collecting all the layers of information that we can, whether it be the EC data, soil sampling, remote sensing type data. And then we're going to apply those layers of data over top of the results from these research projects and see which information correlates best. So we're kind of working backwards on that. And this was a shot taken by the drone, and you can see there's clear visual treatment effects, although we still have to figure out how to use this data quantitatively. And then the yield map that came out of it. So we've got about 10 of these fields across the province, and we're going to do this for 3 years, and hopefully we can learn a few things. I know that sometimes in precision agriculture we're finding out that we just have more questions to ask, but it's a very challenging one, and we're digging into it. That's a shot of the octocopter. It's all run by GPS and everything, so it's stabilized. You can set a path and fly. That's an up-close shot of it. And then there's the plane that he uses for the above imagery. He also puts in a little infrared camera within there so that you can get an NDVI map. It's good for digital elevation as well. So we're going to dig into the growing knowledge component. Kent mentioned our website. We've been really working on building a user-friendly, searchable site over the last couple of years that that would be a hub for farmers to come to for information. We've got lots of different areas within the website. You can access all of our extension materials online. This is our main window where we're sort of advertising the key highlights that are going on. We're working with Morton. We're trying to do video, lots of video, weekly updates, monthly updates types of thing. Right here is where you access that crop cam, and that's a remote camera that we have on a telephone pole at our research site. So if you're bored, you can spy on us, see if Mike's goofing around with Grayson again. But you can literally hook up to it and drive that camera. You can zoom in. We're going to try to do some time-lapse photography. We've got our news events that are here, our tweets. We've got direct feeds through RSS feeds, and then our events are here. But it's actually turned into, and we've got a big video library. So all of our events is video typed thanks to Morton in the back there, in case you ever want to relive a presentation or a field tour, or you can't remember what was talked about. It's a great resource, and we're starting to build a pretty significant volume of videos that are there, and it's kind of nice to have. So our events from last year, we put on a number of crop walks. We had 4 crop walks scheduled, our field school, the Montana trip, our Medicine Hat field tour, and a disease crop walk later in the year. All of those were accomplished at -1 crop walk. We had a lot of rain. This is actually how our crop walk started out this year. Every Thursday when we had them planned, we had a huge rainstorm and a hailstorm. So actually quite surprised how many people showed up despite the terrible weather and not being able to get out in the field. And it was a good opportunity to get together as a group and discuss some issues. And we definitely enjoyed that opportunity to meet with everybody and discuss the issues. You can see the big storm actually collapsed our beautiful canopy covered trailer. So a little extra work. This is one of our crop walks looking at the night spraying project. And we're looking at the fertigation project of Dune Polys in Alberta agriculture. So the crop walks, we're not just looking at the work that we're doing. We're trying to go around to Alberta Agriculture and Ag Canada, anyone else who has interesting projects that they'd like to talk about with farmers. So our field school, we had a lot of fun at our field school this year. Ground-dwelling predators, you got worms. The world under your feet is still a black box. The ultimate canola challenge, fine-tuning cereal disease management, the root of all evil, and the seedling success were the main components of this year's field school. We didn't have any rain, but we had a lot of wind this year. So you can see we set up portable wind fences to try to improve the environment. But a lot of hands-on learning. Guys were down on their hands and knees. This is the seedling success module with Kevin Zaechuk and 2020 Seeds. Very fun and informative, trying to not just stand and talk. Hector Carcamo, he really got into his looking at beneficial insects here, and basically the group's enthralled because he throws in these little carabid beetles, and it's like a little miniature cockfight in a petri dish essentially, because the beetles go in there and just destroy the larvae of insect pests that are going. So people were really digging into this to the point where I'm always amazed how many people are now coming and saying, what can we do in our farming system that's going to encourage the habitat that's going to increase these beneficial insects? So that's very cool to see happen. Lucky to have Hector around. This is Newton talking about mycorrhiza and nodulation, different types of inoculants. Murray Hartman with the canola challenge. And Dr. Jeremy Hummel was doing some hands-on making bait balls for wireworm. And we had a guest speaker from New Zealand, Nick Poole, and he was really a highlight at this year's field school. If you're going to watch a video, I'd check him out. He just had a wonderful way of communicating staging and the principles of leaf disease management. And we're going to try to continue to bring guest speakers from other areas. It's nice to hear from somebody different sometimes. Our field tour in Medicine Hat, we've got actually a really large site out there. It seems that site expands every year, and we've got a great cooperator to work with out there. So we're doing work in another area, another climate. I mean, Southern Alberta is such a big, diverse area. Scott Mears is teaching some sweeping in canola there. And here's our Montana trip. Believe it or not, we came across a 10-foot wheel line. I don't know why we don't see this in southern Alberta. But this was a giant wild ryegrass at one of our stops. We stopped at Wheat, Montana, where some wheat farmers got tired of not making enough money, so they made their own bakery. And now they're selling to Walmart. Like, it's just an incredible business. So we saw a lot of really cool things. And like you said, we stopped, there's the Komatsu that he talked about. So Bill, yeah, he kind of hijacked the tour, but he didn't mention that he bought drinks for everyone the night before. So sometimes the unplanned things are the most memorable. And yeah, we had a lot of fun on that trip. And although we're not planning a trip for this year, I'll tell you about our next one. In the middle of all that, I got to go fishing. There's my prize. So a testament to the crew. I mean, it was wonderful. It took all of August off, and everything ran smoothly like I wasn't there. So that tells me I'm not doing anything. They put on a disease crop walk when I was gone. There's Ron Howard talking about the, what's that called in corn? Goss? Sorry? Goss's wilt was a new disease that was showing up in corn. There's Mike. And there's Ron, and I got to take this opportunity to thank Ron Howard particularly for all of his efforts with everything that he does. He's been such a wonderful person to work with on many levels. Every extension event, I don't think he's ever turned us down to come and meet with farmers and share his knowledge. And this year, this March actually, Ron is retiring with Alberta Agriculture. And if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to give him a round of applause for all of his efforts in the last. Good news is that we've got Dr. Mike Harding right beside him there. Look, he's still beside him again. At least they're replacing the position, and we're very excited, and we're already collaborating with Mike on a number of projects. And same thing, Mike hasn't learned to say no yet either, so we'll keep taking advantage of that. But leveraging partnerships is everything in the success of this organization. We had a fantastic conference planned, and we got hit with the worst storm I've ever seen in planning a conference. And you know, we always have backups, but we had, I think, 4 or 5 speakers that canceled on us. Some of them showed up after we forced them. We went and picked them up at a hotel in High River, and ended up that things went off very well. And all of those conference videos are now posted. Highly encourage you checking it out. Dr. Martin Perry from Rothamsted actually made it to Calgary. I think he saw the weather and said, I'm out of here. Turned around, went back, and actually was back in time to present on Skype. So that's an avenue that we might just take rather than flying people in from long distances, is try to take advantage of those technologies that we have and hear from other people around the world in a rather cost-effective manner. A couple of shots of the conference. And as you know, we've got 2 speakers that canceled or couldn't make it from the conference that are here today, so we're trying to make up for that loss today. We publish 2 magazines a year. The Farming Smarter magazine is also available in a digital flip book. If you want to see, I actually wrote a short article about the Montana bus tour that you missed out on. Check that out. That was the spring edition, and this is the fall edition. I think we've got copies of that here. In addition to that, we're doing a monthly newsletter that comes via email, and it's loaded with links to the website and keeps you up to date with information. Look at that, it looks like almost a grumpy picture of Morton there, doesn't it? I didn't put it there to make fun of you, I just put it there to thank you, Morton. You'll notice in a lot of the slideshows, Morton's in the picture whether he likes it or not. And I think it's just been a valuable tool to be able to extend the information, the great information that's presented at all of our events, and to build that video library. So thanks a lot, Morton. In addition to that, what we're starting to do now is make these videos, and sorry there's no sound on this one right now, but this video that's just going to come out now is about everything to do with canola insect management. Not everything, but a summarized form. So every year you can look at it, you can think about, this is, shut up Ken.
Scouting your fields,
now Ron's going to distract me.
will start to show up and the plants are about 6 to 8 weeks
the long and the short of it is we've made a couple of nice little videos that will help you with the pest identification, the scouting methods, economic thresholds, and everything to do with crop management. So we're kind of building a few of these. We started off with canola insects and then canola diseases, and those will be available shortly for your use, and we're hoping that it'll be sort of more of a permanent resource for you in the years to come. So our events for this year, they look pretty similar. We're continuing with multiple crop walks within May and June. Our field school set for the 24th to 26th of June. Our Medicine Hat Field Day is in July 17th. We've got a disease crop walk planned. And we're going to take a break from our little trips around the world or near us, like Montana and South Dakota. And next year, we're planning a trip to Agritechnica. Now, this is the largest trade show, agricultural trade show in the world. That's taking place in Hanover, Germany, November 8th to 15th. I'm actually hoping that we can do a piggyback trip and stop at the Rothamsted Research in England as well. So that's coming 2015, but it's going to take a lot of planning ahead of time. There's an eagle in my pocket. So keep that in mind and let us know if you're interested right away, because I think it should be fun. As far as new kind of bigger extension events that we've got going on, the Alberta Farmer Express has approached us to develop a partnership within their publication, and that's going to allow us to reach basically all the rural addresses in Alberta. And so basically Farming Smarter will have a section in Alberta Farmers Express, and I think that's just another tool for us to get that good information that we have out to the farmers. So I'm pretty excited about that one. So we talk about the future, and this is my little boy that I dragged along with me on our canola sweeps for Scott Mears. Some of the challenges that we have as an organization moving forward. Some of my challenges as a manager. The stability in funding. Although we've been seeing a steady increase, it's really the stability that is the challenge. And having research budgets fluctuate from, say, $300,000 to $900,000 the month before we're supposed to be seeding is really, really challenging. And part of that is the overall system of funding and research. You'll notice in our most recent magazine that's coming up, we've got a couple of articles talking about the research funding, and I'd appreciate it if you took a look at that. And let's start having those discussions and getting a bit of reform on how that's going. A lot of focus on project-based funding, which is part of the challenge. It's not a bad thing. Like there's good funding available right now, but in the long term, if we want to build this into a really solid organization, I think we're going to need to address that issue. Of course, just like anyone, we've got the competition for skilled labor. Our current facilities right now are rented and a little bit less than adequate that I'd like to see them. So originally we were looking at new locations moving this year, but we opted to stay where we are for now and invest in the capital that will also help with some of our infrastructure issues. The new combine with a weighing system will actually solve some of our facility issues so we don't have to store all of that bagged grain. As I said earlier, we haven't seen any increases in support for extension, despite the fact that it's probably the single most impactful thing that we can do. There's just a diverse amount of issues and opportunities within southern Alberta. It's such a tremendous diversity in weather and types of crops and issues that it's sometimes hard to come up with appropriate focus. To date, we've really been focused on crop production, dryland crop production, but we haven't gotten into forages, and there's lots of other areas that could probably use some work. Another challenge that I mentioned earlier too was the retiring scientists in ARD and AFC, and whether they're going to be replaced or not. And as an opportunity, we've got retiring scientists in ARD and Canada. So sometimes challenges can become opportunities, and I mentioned earlier that if we are in a position to, say, hire people like Bob Blackshaw and maybe convince Ron Howard to move to Lethbridge, there's tremendous resources in these guys that we want to be able to continue to access. There's a high demand for good quality agronomy research right now, and that's one of the biggest reasons why we've been experiencing such growth. There's a wonderful amount of great partners that are wanting to collaborate with us, great support from the commissions and from industry as well. As a smaller organization, we're adaptable and responsive, and we have little to no bureaucracy, and that allows us to move and jump on issues and opportunities like governments can't. I mean, the issues with the research clusters now, they've been a year and a half, and we're just getting to signing contracts, and we don't have that type of internal issue. If you invite me to a meeting, I don't have to get Stephen Harper to sign approval. There's strategic partnerships that we're working with Ag Canada, Alberta Ag, and now a more new one is Alberta Innovates and Technology Futures. We'll hear from Jan. We're looking to work more with them. Traditionally, our overhead has been very low. I mean, we're working out of tents and such, so that gives us a competitive advantage. But as the organization grows and we have bigger staff and more equipment, then that overhead's going to continue to rise, and we're going to have to be able to deal with it. So that's it. There's my little naked boys on a beach, and I just thought I'd end with a nice, peaceful picture. And life is good despite bad prices. I think we all know that there's a tremendous amount of optimism in agriculture despite low prices, and we're looking forward to another great year, and I wish you the most success, and we'll talk to you soon.